Today, we're gonna work on the exterior of our Forester XT. Welcome back to the Auto Obsessive Garage. Chadwick with you again for another installment of Project OG FXT. That's our 2004 Subaru Forester XT. And it can't be all fun and wrenching in the garage, guys. Sometimes we have to make things pretty too. So today, we're gonna work on the exterior of this Forester. It needs some love in various areas. We're gonna touch up the bumper, do a bunch of small stuff, but it all adds to an overall package I think is quite rewarding and really worth doing. You know, we want to make the exterior kind of match the beauty that we've done mechanically. So, what do you say? Let's get in the garage and get some work done. So I'm missing this little cover for the rear wiper and it's totally ruining the looks of this perfect vehicle. Just kidding. It's a small little issue, but nonetheless I went and sourced the OEM part from Subaru and we'll go ahead and install that at this time. Should just snap into place. There we go. Wow, that really completes the look, folks. One little exterior thing done. Time for some new wipers, an often overlooked part of routine maintenance. 22-inch on the driver's side, 19 for the passenger side. Boom. Oh, also replacing the whole windshield with that crack, so lots more to do up here, but new wipers anyway. So on the Forester XT, we got a problem with the headlights. Aside from being kind of cloudy, needing to be cleaned up, we are missing light in both the parking light bulbs. So they're both out on both the driver and passenger side. I've got the key on, engine off, so they should be illuminated. Time to replace those bulbs. It's actually super easy. You just pop these two little plastic rivets here. You can pull off this trim piece. The whole headlight assembly will come out at that time. And then you have full access to the 3 bolts that hold the headlight housing in. They're 3 10mm bolts. And once you get that off, you'll have access to the 2 bulbs there. Super easy to replace them. These are the bulbs you need, super cheap. They're number Sylvania 168. So go ahead, scoop up those. I need 4 because I'm doing all the parking lights. Just be firm with your pressure because it feels like it's gonna break, but there's these little clips in the back that hold it in. They give up with a pretty big fight, so just take it nice and easy. There's our trim piece. We have access to our screws now. You can see the 10mm right here. And I believe there's more than that. Yeah, there
should be 3.
3, oh yeah. There's 2 recessed and then there's this one on top. Here are the 3 10mm bolts you need to remove. Our headlight housing is loose. You come over here and it's going to be obviously the 2 wires that go into where you're replacing the bulbs. So the 2 furthest to the edge. Pop those off and we'll slide the new bulbs in. As you can see, that bulb looks like a mercury thermometer that exploded. So that bulb has failed. Time to replace it. And before you assemble it all, go ahead and test your bulbs. And as you can see, both of our parking lights are lit up beautifully. Awesome, just pop them back in, reverse order of taking everything apart, and you get your parking lights back, and this is a super easy job, guys. One of the biggest visual eyesores for the Subaru Forester XT is this front bumper, and at 208,000 miles, it's not horrible. I've definitely seen worse. It's got a great amount of rock chips, scratches, you know, lots of rock chips actually. As you can see, the front is really just peppered. And then you come over to the driver's side, and here's probably the worst thing. A massive impact and scrape there. Those are really hard to take care of. You have to really sand this down if you're gonna try to save this bumper skin. I think I'm going to, because overall it's in really good shape. It's just, like I said, rock chip, peppered up bad, and then this big mark, and I'll zoom out for scale so you can see just how large that is. So that's gonna take a lot of deep sanding. So here's the plan, guys. We're gonna sand this whole front bumper down, get it back down to just bare plastic, get all the paint off, get under all those spider webs that you can see coming out from that impact. And that's really challenging to do. And then we're gonna go ahead and build it back up. So we're gonna use some filler primer, some really high quality automotive paint, and some really high quality 2K clear coat. And then we'll go ahead and wet sand that clear coat, And this bumper should look brand new, and that's gonna add a lot to the vehicle because you can look down the side of the vehicle there. It is pretty dang clean, and the paint's in good shape. So this bumper's kind of detracting quite a bit, especially with that big blemish. So why don't we just make this look good again? This takes a lot of time, but I think it's totally worth it in the restoration process. So let's get on it. All right, so we got our initial sanding done. We're still gonna have to do some obviously fine refinishing, but it takes a little bit of time to do this. I got most of the rock chips out. I'll come back and get some more. But you gotta be careful. You can't dig too deep or you'll make divots that you can't really correct. Once you put paint, they'll stand out a lot more of those rock chips. But here we go, looking pretty good. All right, gone through all the initial sanding, and I don't know if all these rock chips are gonna be worth the effort, but you can see our big accident impact site right here is pretty ground down. Like I said, I'm trying to do this without Bondo, so just a nice clear, get it as smooth as possible. We're not going for a concourse show here, but as you can see, there is still some rock chips showing, and of course, we know how that works. It'll definitely show through that paint, but it is a lost cause to try to crush every one of those out of there. So I think it's gonna look a lot better, given the fact this thing was in a pretty good biff and the driver's side front. And there were a ton of rock chips pepper in the front, but I think it's time now to go ahead and hit this with some alcohol prep, clean it down real good, and start throwing down some primer on it. We are all prepped up, alcohol pad wiped. It's time to go ahead and put some primer. Just gonna use this 2-in-1 filler and sandable primer, automotive primer from Rust-Oleum. Should work, should do the trick. And we'll see, we'll get a baseline for how rough my sanding is or how much more I need to do. At this step, this will give it a nice uniform finish, and I can go back after it dries and sand additionally if I need to. But I think we're in a pretty good spot. We're not going for perfection, so let's put a good coat of this down. Clearly, with all these dark areas, we're gonna need to add multiple layers of primer. We don't want that to show through the paint, so it's a slow go. We're gonna put quite a few coats down until everything's uniform. But so far, looking pretty good. All right, our primer's all set on the front bumper. We put 4 pretty solid coats on there. So we would be ready to move on to paint, but we actually have to knock down some of this rough stuff. Some of the, side effects of using an aerosol can, right? Is some rough gradient here, and the paint won't go well on that. It'll always maintain kind of that rough look. So I'm gonna knock that primer down with some 400 grit, then some 600 grit, and we should be clear for paint. I'm gonna dry sand this. I don't like to wet sand primer, so let's go ahead and knock that down, and then we'll be ready for paint. With that primer knocked down and tack clothed, it's time to put our paint down. We'll be going with some aftermarket paint that matches very closely. This is Subaru Base Coat 01G, the Platinum Silver Metallic. We'll put down some nice light coats and see if we can bring this bumper back to life. We'll do probably 4 coats of that paint. We'll get heavy and heavier with each coat. Just do them a few minutes apart. All right, we got 4 coats of paint on, and it's looking pretty good. Still some rock chips you can still see, but like I said, it's not going to be perfect. Now it's time to throw our clear coat on and really make this bumper shine. We've got our first coat of clear on. This is the clear coat I'll be using. A really good automotive clear coat. Got the special little plug on the bottom there that you have to take from the cap and put it in. Pretty interesting, but I've had really good luck with this brand before, so good quality clear coat. You don't want to cheap out here, guys. Cheap clear coat will just kind of peel and crack and discolor quickly, and you can see just with one quick coat, we already have some really pretty solid gloss going on here. So we're gonna obviously put 4 coats on, nice and thick, because it's a bumper, but I'm already happy with how things are looking up here. All right, 4 thick coats of clear coat, and we are looking exceptionally shiny on this front bumper. Looking real damn good. Look at that. So much better than before, and you remember on this driver's side front we had that huge impact area with all the spider webbing coming out, but now it's just a nice clean bumper. How amazing does that look? Really happy how this came out. Again, just rattle cans, but a huge improvement on the looks of the car. Prep work is no small feat when you're doing your bumpers and all the trim, including the windshield wipers. You can see here we're going to use satin black on those. Continue to the side, we're going to do the side trim, which are also satin black. Now what's interesting on the Forester are these panels here. I have this taped up just for now so I don't overspray with the black here, but these are actually a different color, and I've sourced the color. When I go to spray paint those, I'll put that up on the screen so you guys can see. It's another Subaru paint. It's kind of a dark gray metallic color, and it's different than the regular black trim, so don't make that mistake. So we're gonna paint those. That's all masked off. You can see the bumper's already done. Nice and shiny, but we've got this huge panel back here. This is also that dark gray. So we're gonna paint that. You can see obviously the paint is failing here. We'll do that. I'm gonna come up with a trick for these letters and we'll see if that works. But same deal over here. You can see this one's completely eaten up by the sun. That's gonna also be that dark gray. So lots of work here. Tons of effort going into just the prep to make sure everything's taped off. You don't wanna be messing up your paint. But here we go, guys. Time to get this trim looking fresh again. All right, bear with me here. Now, I don't want to remove these decals. This one probably isn't as difficult to put back on since it is one decal, but the Subaru letters on the back all being separate. And I'm gonna make that look like a kid put it back together. So I've gone ahead and alcohol prepped the entire surface. It's ready for paint, so all I'm gonna do is try some good old petroleum jelly here, some Vaseline I purchased, and an old paintbrush, something kind of small. I'm actually gonna get in the petroleum jelly and very smoothly cover the entire all-wheel drive logo. And then with the hopes of being, when I spray that paint down, that the paint doesn't adhere and can wipe off as soon as the paint is completely dried on the rest of this panel. So that's the hope. I think it's a good enough idea to try. So let's go ahead and paint some Vaseline. Now you want to make sure you don't get any of this obviously on the panel, because that will cause the paint not to stick there, and that is not what we're after today. Alright, and then we're going to try that spray paint and see if it doesn't stick. As far as the paint color for doing this kind of trim, I've gone with an actual OEM Subaru color. This is 36Y. It's kind of a dark gray. I went forum diving. A lot of people have had good success with this matching closely to that dark gray. So let's go ahead and spray it on the panel and see how she looks and see if our petroleum jelly trick works with the actual badging. And we'll do a bunch of nice light coats and get that looking new again. All right, the paint looks pretty good. It's a little darker in my opinion than how this originally came, but it does look well. It's definitely not black, and it's definitely time to throw some clear on there. I think clear will go a long way to make it look nice and bright and shiny. And these were actually glossy from the factory. Believe it or not, all of them are burnt out by this time. So we'll put a nice clear coat on there, make it shiny, should look good. And we're still hoping our Vaseline trick on the actual badging is gonna hold up. So let's put some clear on here. Nice wet coats, we'll probably put about 3 coats on there and call it a day. You want to wait 10 minutes between these coats. Time to see if my Vaseline trick worked on the badges and not make a big mess. So it should just come off with a wipe of a cloth. All right. What do you guys think about that little trick? Seems to work pretty good. That's a little hack there. We'll be using that in the future. With so many shiny parts of the car, we really can't let these cloudy, dirty old headlights pass. So we're gonna hit it with some Meguiar's plastics. I have good luck with this product and the old DA polisher on my drill. Let's clean these headlights up. Wow! Okay, that's gonna change the front end quite a bit on the vehicle. Wow, that looks stunning. Time to do the driver's side. Same deal on the driver's side, just as cloudy, just as yellow. Let's go ahead and polish her out. Now to detail the whole rest of the car to match this. Headlights restored.